My name is Stella Hall. I'm 31 years old, and for most of my adult life, I believed stability was more important than show. I've never been the flashiest person in the room. I don't crave spotlights or followers. I work as a data analyst, spreadsheets, reports, and deadlines are my normal rhythm. Not glamorous, but steady. I built a quiet life in the city, one I thought I was proud of. That's what makes what happened 2 months ago still echo in my chest like a bruise I can't stop pressing. It was a Friday night, and I was seated at a long marble table in an overpriced downtown restaurant, the kind with chandeliers shaped like falling stars and a wine list thicker than a novel. Nathan, my boyfriend of 3 years, had invited me. Correction, I had paid for us both to be there, though none of his friends knew that. Nathan is 29. To the world, he's an influencer, a lifestyle blogger who posts filtered snapshots of luxury cocktails, designer bags, and 5-star plates of food he never finishes. To me, he's the man I once thought I'd marry. He has about 15,000 followers online, but his income from that world's sporadic, barely $600 a month. The reality, I was the one underwriting his entire persona, our high-rise apartment. My name on the lease, my credit check, my deposits. His designer clothes bought on a credit card I originally gave him for emergencies. The restaurants he posts about paid with my salary. But I never complained, not out loud. Maybe deep down I thought I was helping him build something. That was my mistake. That night the table was crowded with his influencer friends Bianca, with her surgically perfect smile, Leo with his endless stories of brand partnerships. They were all talking about their next group trip to some resort in Bali. My glass of wine was still half full when one of them turned to Nathan and asked brightly, "So is Stella coming too?" I'll never forget the way Nathan leaned back in his chair, his arms stretched casually along the seat, and smirked. "Please," he said, his voice loud enough for the entire table to hear. "She can't afford my lifestyle." The words landed like a gunshot. Laughter rippled thin and uncomfortable. My stomach twisted. I sat there stunned, my hand tightening around the stem of my glass. He said it as if I weren't even there, as if I were some stranger begging for his scraps, when I was the one holding up the entire illusion of his lifestyle. I glanced around. The table had gone quiet. Bianca's mouth dropped open and she whispered, "Oh, shit!" I had just covered the $400 dinner tab without a second thought, without ever asking Nathan to Venmo me later. And here he was, diminishing me, in front of everyone. Something inside me snapped, but not in the way people expect. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even slam the glass down, though my knuckles itched too. Instead, I looked at Nathan calmly. My voice didn't waver. "You're absolutely right," I said. His smile faltered. "Babe, I was just—" "No, you're right," I continued, standing slowly, sliding my chair back against the polished floor. "I can't afford your lifestyle." I let the silence hang. Every eye at the table was on me. Nathan's face lost its color confusion, flickering in his eyes as if he'd just realized I wasn't playing along. "Stella," he muttered, trying to laugh it off. "Don't be so dramatic." I tilted my head, studying him like a stranger. "The lease expires in 8 weeks, Nathan. I won't be renewing it." For the first time in our 3 years together, I watched the mask slip. His mouth opened, then closed. His friends shifted uncomfortably, trying to look anywhere but at us. "What do you mean?" he stammered, his voice sharp, brittle. "I mean," I said softly, "you should start looking for a place you can actually afford." Bianca looked between us, wide-eyed, like she'd stumbled into a scene she wasn't supposed to witness. Someone coughed. The restaurant seemed to dim around me, the clinking of glasses and murmurs of other tables fading as the weight of my words sank in. Nathan's hand twitched, his perfect influencer composure cracking. "We'll talk about this later," he hissed under his breath. But I didn't care. For the first time in years, I felt free. I walked out of that restaurant with my head high, leaving behind the chandeliers, the marble table, and the man who had just publicly revealed the truth of what he thought I was worth. What he didn't realize yet was that I had been carrying his entire lifestyle on my back, and I had just decided to put it down. The morning after the dinner party, Nathan tried to act like nothing had happened. He padded into the kitchen, hair still messy from sleep phone, in his hand like always. He kissed the air near my cheek, not actually touching me, then opened the fridge. "You were really dramatic last night," he said, casually pulling out a sparkling water. I stirred my coffee, letting the silence stretch. The faint hiss of carbonation was the only sound. "Nathan." I finally said, my voice steady. I wasn't dramatic. I was honest. His eyes narrowed, the mask cracking. "So what, you're really not renewing the lease?" No, I said simply. I've already started looking for a new place. The can slipped in his grip, fizz hissing up the sides. He laughed a hollow sound. Come on, Stella. Don't be ridiculous. You love this apartment. The view, the pool, the rooftop. It's who we are. No, Nathan, I said quietly. It's who you pretend to be. His smirk faltered. He opened his mouth to argue, but I had already turned back to my coffee. The next week, I toured a modest one-bedroom in a building without a doorman, no rooftop pool, no floor-to-ceiling windows. Rent was around $1,400, clean, sunlit, and most importantly, mine. When I signed the deposit check, I felt a lightness in my chest I hadn't realized I'd been craving. Meanwhile, Nathan doubled down on denial. He hadn't packed a single thing. Instead, he filled our apartment with more ring light selfies, more luxury content. One night, scrolling through Instagram, I found he'd posted a story of our apartment's skyline view with the caption, "Blessed to live here." He hadn't spoken to me all evening. I nearly laughed. Blessed, blessed by me. By the hours I worked the salary, I earned the rent I paid. His brand was built on my back, and he still thought pretending could save him. As the weeks ticked by, his tactics grew desperate. Some days he showered me with affection. "Babe, I know I hurt you. I was just performing. You know how this industry works." I didn't mean it. He'd bring me coffee in bed, whisper apologies, kiss my forehead. Other days, he ignored me entirely, sitting cross-legged on the couch with his laptop muttering about brand deals that never came. And then came the anger. "You're trying to ruin me," he snapped one night as I packed a box of books. His voice was sharp venom dripping from every word. "Do you know how abusive this is? Financially abusive. You're abandoning me when we were supposed to be a team." I set the book down, slowly meeting his gaze. "Nathan, I'm not abandoning you. I'm removing myself. There's a difference." He sneered, pacing the living room. "You'll regret this. People will see the truth. You can't just walk away." But I could, and I was. 2 weeks before the lease expired, I had nearly all my boxes labeled and stacked. My new apartment's keys jingled in my bag, a small reassurance every time my hand brushed them. Nathan, he still hadn't looked for a single place to live. Instead, he posted photos of champagne glasses at networking events, captions like "manifesting abundance." Behind the filters, I could see the fear in his eyes. At night, I lay awake in the guest room, listening to the faint hum of his ring light through the wall, and wondered how long he thought he could keep pretending. The truth was closing in one unpaid bill at a time, and soon it would hit him like a tidal wave. The morning the movers arrived, the air in the apartment felt different, sharper, almost electric. I'd spent the past week carefully packing my things, books stacked in neat boxes, clothes, folded dishes wrapped in newspaper. My life condensed into cardboard and tape. Nathan hadn't lifted a finger, not to pack, not to plan. He just stared at me from the couch as the movers carried out my desk, my coffee maker, my television. "Where's all my stuff going?" he demanded, voice cracking. I turned to him, my hands steady, even though my heart was pounding. "What stuff, Nathan?" "The furniture, the appliances, the TV. I bought all of it. You came here with a ring, light your clothes, and that IKEA dresser." His face flushed crimson. He shot up from the couch, pacing like a caged animal. "You're stealing from me. This is theft." One of the movers glanced nervously in my direction. I smiled faintly, shaking my head. "No. These are mine. I have receipts for every single one." That only fueled him more. "You're destroying me. Do you have any idea what this will do to my brand? People will think I'm a failure. You can't do this to me, Stella. You can't." His words ricocheted off the bare walls, sounding smaller with every echo. I taped another box shut. "I'm not doing anything to you. You did this to yourself." When I left with the movers, the apartment was half empty. Only Nathan's ring light glowed in the corner, illuminating his pale, frantic face. By that evening, my phone lit up with a storm of messages. 27 missed calls, 46. Text messages alternating between apologies, rage, and pleas. Instagram stories, vague quotes about betrayal, heartbreak, toxic partners. I muted every notification. 2 days later, my phone rang again. This time, the name on the screen made my stomach knot. Gloria. Nathan's mother. I hesitated before answering, but curiosity won. "Stella," she began, her tone sharp, accusing. "What on earth are you doing to my son?" I closed my eyes, already exhausted. "Hello to you too, Gloria." "He's devastated," she continued, voice rising. "He told me you blindsided him, that you abandoned him with nothing. How could you be so cruel?" I took a slow breath. "Gloria, your son has been living off me for years. He humiliated me in public, and I decided I was done funding his life. That's not cruelty, that's boundaries. She scoffed disbelief dripping through the phone. He's depressed, Stella. He won't eat. He says you ruined his confidence. You destroyed his future. Destroyed his future, I almost laughed. Gloria, I paid for his future. Without me, his lifestyle doesn't exist. There was a pause. Then her voice turned icy. You should be ashamed. A beautiful, ambitious boy like Nathan gave you a chance, and this is how you repay him. You'll regret this one day. I pulled the phone from my ear, staring at it, as if the sheer weight of her delusion might crack the glass. Ashamed, I whispered. Then louder, Gloria, the only thing I regret is letting this go on for as long as I did. I hung up before she could answer. The next week, Nathan escalated. A knock on my door came late in the evening. An officer stood there looking weary. Miss Hall, I'm here about a theft report filed by Nathan Blake. My chest tightened, but I stayed calm. Of course. Come in. I pulled out a folder I had prepared days ago, receipts, invoices, all in my name. The officer flipped through the pages, nodding slowly. Everything checks out. This is your property. Honestly, he doesn't have a case. If he keeps pressing, it'll be a civil matter at best. He sighed. But between us, I think he's just trying to get your attention. I exhaled a bitter laugh, escaping. That sounds exactly like him. When the officer left, I locked the door, leaned against it, and let the silence wash over me. Nathan's world was shrinking. The apartment gone, the luxury props stripped away. His audience, both online and off, was about to see him for what he really was. And something told me his downfall was only just beginning. Nathan didn't move into a sleek bachelor pad or even a modest apartment. He moved back into his childhood bedroom, the one with faded superhero wallpaper still clinging to the walls, tucked away in his mother Gloria's quiet suburban home, 45 minutes from downtown. On Instagram, however, you'd never know it. Within days, his feed lit up with carefully angled photos, corners, of a plain white wall, cropped to look minimalist. His ring light blasting away the reality of butterfly decals in the background. In captions, he wrote about embracing a fresh chapter, pretending the suburban home was some kind of intentional reset. But the cracks showed, comments trickled in. Where's the skyline view? Didn't you live in that high-rise? This looks like my mom's house, LOL. He deleted comments almost as quickly as they appeared, but the damage was there. His lifestyle was slipping. Meanwhile, I was settling into my small apartment. No rooftop pool, no concierge, no endless city view. But it was mine. My boxes were unpacked, my furniture fit the space perfectly, and for the first time in years, I woke up without the weight of someone else's chaos pressing down on me. Nathan didn't see it that way. He called one evening, his voice trembling with forced calm. Stella, we can still fix this. I've been networking, planning big things. But I need you in my corner, just until I get back on my feet. I closed my eyes. Nathan, I'm not your safety net anymore. His composure cracked instantly. So what, you're just going to abandon me? After everything I did for you. I couldn't help but laugh, sharp and bitter. Everything you did for me, Nathan. I paid for your life. I paid for your brand. He hung up. Over the next weeks, his desperation evolved. First came guilt trips, long emotional texts about how I'd betrayed him. Then came the anger again posts on his story about toxic partners who steal from creators. And then came the proposal. One morning, my inbox lit up with an email from Nathan Blake. The subject line, business opportunity. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. Inside was a glossy PDF proposal designed like a professional pitch deck. Charts, projections, even a logo mock-up. His vision, a full-fledged lifestyle brand luxury travel guides, product endorsements, curated fashion partnerships. At the bottom, investment required $10,000. Equity offered 10% of future earnings. Projected revenue, $500,000 in 2 years. I stared at the screen. Disbelief bubbling into laughter. His current documented income was barely $600 a month. I forwarded the deck to my friend Adrian, who works in venture capital. He replied within minutes, "Is this satire? Please tell me it's satire." I never responded to Nathan. That silence drove him mad. Within days, my phone lit up again, not from Nathan, but from Bianca, his influencer friend. "Stella, why are you being so petty? He just needs help to get back on his feet. Be the bigger person." An hour later, a text from Bianca's boyfriend, Nathan, told me you're sabotaging him. Not cool. Just help him out. Then a DM from a stranger, another wannabe influencer. You're holding back a creative soul. You should invest in him instead of tearing him down. Every time I sent the same reply. So are you going to invest in him? Silence, every single time. Late one night, I scrolled through his Instagram again. He had posted a story, a dimly lit steakhouse, wine glasses, his hand reaching across the table. The caption, "Date night, manifesting abundance." I watched closely. His suit looked borrowed, the sleeves a little too long. The reflection in the glass behind him showed not a luxury car, but his beat-up 2012 Honda parked outside. The comments came fast. "Who's paying for this? Where's your apartment now?" He deleted them, again. But I could see it, his world was shrinking. His brand, his lies, his performance. And he was clinging tighter than ever, even as the mask began to tear apart. And I knew it was only a matter of time before it all came crashing down. I was at my usual coffee shop, downtown, laptop, open headphones, in the smell of espresso, wrapping around me like comfort. This place had become my refuge, a corner of peace after months of chaos. That peace didn't last. The bell above the door chimed, and in walked Nathan. He wasn't alone. Beside him was a man in his mid-40s, wedding ring tan line, stark against his finger, even though the ring itself was missing. Expensive suit hair, perfectly combed, the kind of man who reeked of status. Nathan's voice rose above the cafe hum, laughter exaggerated, hand brushing the man's arm too often. Performance mode, dialed to 100. My stomach clenched. Of course, Nathan wasn't just networking, he was hunting. They ordered drinks, settled at a table near the window. I tried to focus on my screen, but then Nathan's eyes flicked across the room and locked onto mine. For a heartbeat, his smile faltered. Then, as if on cue, he dragged the man over. "Oh my God," he said, "sugary sweet Stella, hi." I looked up slowly. Nathan. He gestured proudly. "This is Richard. Richard, this is my ex. You know the one I told you about." Richard extended a stiff hand, clearly uncomfortable. "Nice to meet you." "Nathan," I said evenly, ignoring Richard's awkward smile. "What do you want?" Nathan's grin sharpened. "Richard is a partner at a law firm. He actually appreciates ambitious people. We're looking at apartments on 5th. He leaned closer, voice dripping with triumph. "Real apartments. Luxury ones." I blinked unimpressed. "That's great." I turned back to my laptop. Richard shifted, tugging at his sleeve. I'll just grab our table." He excused himself quickly, leaving Nathan glaring. Minutes later, Richard left the cafe altogether. Alone. Nathan's facade, cracked, jaw-tight eyes flashing. He stormed back over to me. "That was really rude," he hissed. "What was I asked, still typing?" "You could have helped me out. Played along." His voice sharpened. "Instead, you made me look pathetic." I finally looked at him. Calm, steady. "You wanted me to help you catfish a married man." His tan line gave him away before he even opened his mouth. For a split second, he froze. Then came the fury. "You know what?" he spat. "This is exactly why I said what I said. You have no ambition, no vision. You're just a boring 9-to-5 woman who will never understand what it takes to build something." The cafe fell quiet, baristas pausing mid-pour. I stood facing him fully. My voice cut through the silence. "Nathan, I built my life by myself, with my boring 9-to-5. You're 29, living with your mother, lying to strangers, begging for scraps. Which one of us really lacks vision?" His face twisted, and then in a moment that sealed his downfall, he grabbed his latte and flung it. The cup arced through the air and missed. Instead, it splattered across a college kid's backpack. Gasps rippled through the cafe. The barista's jaw dropped. "Get out," she snapped. "Now. You're banned." Nathan sputtered, his mask shattering in front of everyone. People pulled out their phones. I stood frozen, watching the man who once lived off me unravel in public. He stormed out, cursing under his breath, the door slamming behind him. That night, my phone rang again. Gloria. Her voice trembled this time, not with anger, but with tears. "Stella. How could you provoke him like that? He told me you followed him, stalked him, embarrassed him. He's devastated." I almost laughed. "Gloria, there's security footage. It shows him approaching me. It shows him throwing the drink. Don't twist this." Her voice broke. "You know what you did. You've ruined him." I stared at the ceiling, feeling strangely calm. "No, Gloria. He ruined himself. And if either of you call me again, I'll file for a restraining order." For the first time, she went silent. I hung up, the weight in my chest lifting. Nathan wasn't just losing his lifestyle anymore. He was losing control, and soon the entire world would see it too. 2 days after the coffee shop incident, it happened. A friend sent me a link. "You have to see this," the text read. It was a YouTube video. Title: "The Fake Lifestyle Influencer Who Lost Everything." Thumbnail: Nathan's smiling face beside bold red letters, "Exposed." My heart hammered as I pressed play. The video opened with clips pulled from Nathan's old posts, rooftop pool selfies, champagne glasses, the skyline view he always bragged about. The narrator's voice was sharp, amused. This is Nathan Blake, a self-proclaimed lifestyle influencer with 15,000 followers. But behind the facade, a story of lies, entitlement, and manipulation. Screenshot after screenshot appeared posts where Nathan boasted about luxury living, followed by comments questioning why his background looks suspiciously suburban. Then came the dinner party story. Somehow someone had leaked it word for word. My humiliation that night replayed for millions. While Nathan mocked his partner for not being able to afford his lifestyle, the narrator continued. It turns out she was the one paying for everything. The apartment, the clothes, the dinners. Nathan's entire brand was funded by the very person he belittled. Clips of his recent posts followed cropped white walls, clumsy attempts to pass off his mother's house as minimalist chic. Viewers laughed in the comments. Bro went from penthouse to childhood bedroom. This guy's lifestyle is sponsored by mom. Can't afford your lifestyle, more like can't afford your rent. By the time the video ended, I was shaking not from anger, but from something close to vindication. Nathan had always feared exposure. Now the internet had done what I never could, stripped away every last shred of his illusion. Within 48 hours, the video hit 2.3 million views. Nathan's Instagram went private. His TikTok disappeared. His website redirected to nothing. But the internet never forgets. Screenshots spread across forums, Twitter threads, and gossip pages. People dug up everything: his contradictory posts, the coffee shop meltdown, even Gloria's bizarre comments defending him. Everywhere I looked, Nathan's name was attached to one-word fraud. That didn't stop him from trying again. A week later, a new Instagram appeared under a different handle. This time, Nathan branded himself as a mental health advocate. His feed was filled with pastel sunset photos, inspirational quotes about surviving narcissistic abuse, and captions about rebuilding after trauma. I almost choked on my coffee reading one post. After years of being controlled, I finally found freedom. Controlled. The irony nearly broke me. For 9 days, he tried to reinvent himself. His follower count hovered around 200, most of them bots. Comments quickly turned brutal. Isn't this the guy who scammed his ex? Surviving narcissistic abuse by your landlord, aka your ex, who paid your bills. Not you rebranding as a victim, LMAO. By day 10, the account vanished. Deleted. Again. Meanwhile, my life was calm. I cooked in my own kitchen, paid bills without resentment, went to work without dread of what chaos I'd find at home. At night, I slept soundly in my quiet little apartment, the weight of Nathan's manipulation finally gone. And yet there was a part of me that watched his downfall with a mix of emotions. Satisfaction, yes, but also something heavier. It's one thing to cut someone out of your life. It's another to watch them burn everything they built, convinced the flames are someone else's fault. Nathan was still falling, and I knew he hadn't hit the bottom yet. The last call from Gloria came through Facebook Messenger. I had blocked her everywhere else, but somehow she found this one crack. Her message was long pleading. Stella, Nathan is getting help now. He's broken fragile. You two could work it out once he's better. Please don't give up on him. You'll regret it when he's successful again. I read it twice, then typed my reply slowly. Gloria, your son needs to learn that actions have consequences. I wish him well, but I will never be an option for him again. Please don't contact me. I hit send, then blocked her there too. For the first time, I felt something close to relief. A clean line drawn, no more space for manipulation. Nathan's fall didn't stop. A mutual acquaintance told me the details after his short-lived mental health advocate reinvention flopped. Nathan tried a regular job. A dental office hired him for data entry at $18 an hour. The irony hit me like a punch. The man who once mocked my boring data analyst job was now drowning in spreadsheets for less than a quarter of my salary. He lasted 3 weeks before having a meltdown about the toxic environment. Apparently, they told him to stop taking selfies at his desk. He quit in dramatic fashion. Now he works retail, the returns counter at a department store. The same man who used to post luxury haul videos now scans other people's receipts day after day. In his room, Gloria converted his childhood bedroom into a craft room. Nathan sleeps in her old home office, an 8x10 windowless box. From penthouse views to a coffin-sized space. From luxury influencer to retail clerk. I didn't need revenge. Life had already delivered it for me. As for me, life began to bloom in ways I hadn't expected. I traveled with friends, not to exclusive resorts, but on hiking trails, camping under stars, laughing over campfires. No photos for clout, no stage perfection, just living. And then there was Daniel. We met through mutual friends, nothing flashy. A teacher, kind-eyed, steady. On our first date, he insisted on splitting the bill. When I offered to cover, he smiled and said, "I have a job. I can afford my own pasta." It was such a simple thing. But after years of carrying Nathan's weight, it felt revolutionary. I don't know if Daniel is the one. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. But for the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid of what comes next. Sometimes late at night, I think back to that dinner party. Nathan's smirk, his words. "She can't afford my lifestyle." And I realize the truth. He was right. I couldn't afford his lifestyle, his illusions, his lies, his endless hunger for more. But my lifestyle, the one I built on my own without him draining me